Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm actually going to show you an interview that I did with one of my students named Taya, who actually stays at home with her 4 kids. And when she originally bought my program, she was looking for a way to generate some additional income outside of her and her husband's work for her family. And she's been having a ton of success. She's worked her absolute guts out. I'm super proud of her, and I really hope you enjoy this interview. And if you find yourself in a similar spot as Taya, I think all of us can relate with her in one way or another. I want you to really take notes on exactly what she does to find the success that she's having so that you can implement it in your life and in your business as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and roll the interview. I hope you enjoy. I'm on my way to go quit my job right now. Taya, thanks for joining us. You've been having some success lately with your web design and lead gen business, and so I wanted to have you hop on one of these success calls and share with us a little bit. So maybe if you could bring us up to speed on kind of how you got started in this and some of the maybe the backstory of kind of becoming a entrepreneur, if you will.
Okay. Well, my husband and I got started through Chris Crone, and my husband's like the adventurer. I'm like the practical one.
Yeah.
But he got us started in Chris Crone, and so we went to some events, and then I happened to be in this random meeting where you got on there and gave your spiel about digital real estate, and I think it was the first time you guys had offered it, and
Yeah.
I was sitting there rocking my newborn baby to sleep, and I was like, I don't know, there was just like some inspiration there. I was like, this is for you. So I called my husband and I was like, okay, I know $1,000 is a lot, but like I really feel good about this. I think I'm gonna do it. And that's probably the craziest amount of money I've ever spent.
Yeah.
Like
That's like the first
all
time
in
you've
all, like
really
a thousand
like,
bucks.
yeah,
Yeah,
like invested in yourself type of a thing.
exactly, exactly. And so luckily my husband just like completely trusts me and was like, of course, like if you feel good, do it. So then I got started with digital real estate. And you're just like an amazing teacher and leader and mentor. And I even told my husband I was like a little nervous for this call because I'm like, Zach's like way up here in my book, and I just like respect and admire you so much. So
Thank you. No, I appreciate
um,
that. I mean, really,
yeah,
at the end of the day, all it is I'm just a few chapters ahead and just, bringing people along for the ride. That's all it really is. So,
you've got like all that wisdom though. So
well,
um, I've loved learning from you, and I what I really love is like you've taught us um like the right way of doing things that aren't like shady or sketchy, and like I
right,
really appreciate that because there's so much out there, so many people to learn from, and
right.
a lot of times like they do throw in some of those like sketchier um things that they do that might work, but like I want to make sure I'm running a business that like I can be proud of.
Right, right.
And so I really appreciate that. And then so I started my digital real estate last year. Like I said, I had a little baby, but I was able to build, I think, 17 sites. And at the end of the year last year, um, I just was like, I just got to go nuts and build a bunch more. So January and February, I just dedicated my most of my time to just building websites. I built 33, so I'm at 50 total right now.
Wow, nice.
Um, and so my strategy there is I want to go on the cruise. I eventually want to do that. And I want to get all the perks of WebPro. So I have a few on WebPro, but what I've been doing is like build them on LeadX.
Yeah,
And if the SEO goes pretty quickly,
yeah,
then swap them over to WebPro and go
yeah.
from there. I really like WebPro a lot more, but it's just financially just the best move for
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, there's absolutely wisdom in that for sure. I mean, when you can build a ton of sites for a lot cheaper hosting fees and stuff, so
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no worries there. But
So
that's
that's
awesome. So then I'm
yeah.
curious, like at what point did the money start, trickling in as far as whether it was from website builds or renting out your sites or whatever?
So I started in like I think it was April last year, and it was a slow burn for me because I don't have a ton of time. I got 4 kids. I
Yeah.
got another online job that I do. My husband's a firefighter, so like his schedule's all crazy. So
Totally
we just
understand.
live in
Yep.
this crazy world. I've given as much time as I could to it, and so I don't think I got like paid for the first time until it was probably November.
Okay.
Um, and actually, that deal was kind of interesting. I still have a deal with this company, but I had this random. He must be like a lead gen guy too,
Okay.
but he actually contacted me and was like, "Hey, I see you have this website in this location for this niche. I actually have a business that's like ready to pay money for leads.
Oh
They're
wow.
like really hungry for leads." So
Cool.
that worked out. So we're on a commission deal with this business right now, and then we just split the commission. And so far, they've paid us a couple times, and they're in like the colder weather states. So now that it's kind of spring is like kind of on people's minds. Actually, just I think between in the past 24 hours, I've gotten 3 different requests for estimates for them. So,
Oh
and they're
man.
all really big jobs, and so I'm like, you guys gotta go put on a good face and get these
Yeah.
jobs for us. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's
so
awesome.
that's so that yeah, probably November was my first like payment that I got that I was like, okay, this might actually work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I do have another commission deal going right now. And he sent me a check a couple weeks ago. I think we talked about it. So
Yeah, yeah, we did, I think a little bit. Yeah, I'm just curious just because I mean, I know that when you try something like this, and especially, is this the first thing? I mean, it sounds like based off your backstory that this is like the first time you've ever tried something, or have you tried other things like affiliate marketing or drop shipping, e-commerce, like those sorts of business models online?
no, no, it was the first thing kind of outside my norm. I teach school online, so like
Yeah,
I'm in technology kind of already. I have a master's in educational technology, so it's kind of like in my wheelhouse, but not really.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I gotcha. So when that first payment came, I mean, was that the sort of thing where it was like super validating, or was it still kind of like, I know at least for me, until like I started bringing in like, multiple, like I've like,
yeah,
they say that there's that saying where it's like you get like, if you do something once, it's like it still could be an anomaly. Do something twice, maybe it's, and then three becomes a pattern or whatever, right? So I'm just
yeah.
curious to hear from everybody, like, were you just like, was that super validating, that first one that came in, or were you still kind of like, okay, like this is great, but like I'm still slightly skeptical?
um, I I've told my husband for months. I'm like, I feel like I'm like just on the brink of
Yep.
this, like being like a regular payment coming in or like getting more deals. Like I'm just on the brink. And so I feel like I'm like cresting the peak right now, like about ready to like have some things work in my favor. But yeah, that first one I'll probably never forget it. It was like 115 bucks. And I was just like that'll
Oh my
pay for
gosh.
groceries or something
Yeah.
this week. But like I was super stoked that like just to see that like all the work I've been putting out there, like something coming back was
Yeah.
yeah. We tried to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
good. It was
That's
good.
super cool. So, I'm curious, what were some of the thoughts that may have been, even some of the negative thoughts potentially, that kind of maybe went through your head from the time you started until that first payment came through? Because, part of me doing these success interviews is to, I could tell my story all day long, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of looked at, as you've mentioned, as like the leader, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, Zach. But they also don't see the 5 years of, that I've been doing this and the struggle early on and stuff for me. And so I try to tell those stories as often as possible. But I also like to try to get those stories out of other people. So I'm curious, were there times where you were like, I'm just going to keep going? Are you naturally kind of a positive person, or were there some of those thoughts going through your head where it's just like, ah, man, maybe I should just throw in the towel, or maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be, or whatever?
That's a really good question. I feel like I had that such a good feeling about even just like right there at the beginning. I didn't know a whole lot about it. Like I just had intuition
Yeah.
that like this was something I needed to do
Yeah.
and just like really put my heart into it. And so I think that feeling has really, it's pretty much stayed consistent.
Yeah.
There's people like that have kind of come and gone in our groups that
Yep.
you see something negative every now and then, like,
Yeah.
oh, like, not I haven't seen anything specifically about you, but like Chris is like there's haters out there,
Oh,
right?
for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so I've seen those people kind of come and go, and I'm
Yeah.
like Zach has like testified, like if you stick with this, like
Yeah.
something's gonna work out for you, and
Exactly.
like there's definitely doors opening like now that I had no idea that would open, other than just the digital real estate side of it. And so
That,
like
yes.
I guess your motivation plus like my own intuition, just like feeling really good about this. I don't know if you see that board back there. So I
Yeah.
need to update it a bunch, but like all those sticky notes around it are like just like little motivating things, like burn the boats, and like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or the however you said it, the ships or boats.
Friendships.
Just like little like sparks of inspiration that have come in
Yeah.
like our meetings, or just to like me personally, and I just like write them down and keep them up there, and I'm like, I don't know, that's
Yeah.
kind of driving me. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I love that you mentioned like how you said the doors opening, right? And that's I love to hear that kind of stuff because when I was personally when I was looking at like my life at the time that I was looking for something to, go into to make some additional money, um you've probably heard my story before. My son got kind of a diagnosis of something he was born with, very similar to like cerebral palsy. So it's basically just what we call it, but it's not exactly cerebral palsy. It's very unique type. But I was looking for a way to make additional income, and I was a salesperson. I was selling software at the time, and um, I was looking into all these different side hustles, and the one that I had actually looked into the most was actually watch trading, where like you can like buy and flip watches for actually like a decent amount of profit. And I actually saw like there's a lot of people, obviously trying to sift through all the bull crap, and it seemed like there was a lot of like people that were just like, yeah, no, like literally you can find these deals everywhere. You got to have maybe $1,500 to start, and you buy your first watch for 1,000 to $1,500, and usually if you pick the right one, it can be flipped for 3 to 4 grand, and you just kind of do that over and over again. So I was like, okay, cool. And then when I came across like the lead generation world, and ultimately why I decided to go into it was for that exact reason, which was, that every business, and for me, from a young age, I've had just aspirations to have a lot of different businesses or own, multiple franchises or whatever it is, right? And so I knew, I was like, you know what, this is like definitely a skill that I need to learn. And it has, exactly like you said, opened up a ton of other doors. And so I always love hearing that from our group and people, because it's like that's exactly what I want. It's like these skills, obviously, I package these skills together in a way, into a business model that you can follow and absolutely make whatever, like write your own paycheck in life, right? But in addition to that, a really cool byproduct of that is the doors that open, and people that come to you and say, hey, like I heard you know how to do like websites and social media and drive traffic and all this kind of stuff, like tell me about that, and what you want to do that for my business, and so on and so forth. So I think that's super cool.
yeah, no, that's exactly, I feel like you've done it right. And like even still, like you've brought up other like strategies on how to get customers, and like I have like a list of things like I could do with this, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I just don't have like the time right now to do
Yeah.
every single part of it. Like, but
Yeah.
I have that list, and I'm like, okay, maybe someday I'll get to these, or if maybe not. But there's a lot of different ways to make money from it. So
Exactly, exactly. And that's exactly that's exactly my point to a lot of people. And so yeah, I love that you see that and you see that vision and stuff. So um if there was, I know this is kind of like a cliche question that people ask in these types of interviews, but yeah, from your perspective as, going from beginner to now having some experience, having had some success, and you're starting, like you said, you're getting really close to kind of getting that snowball over the mountain to where it just starts, an avalanche. What sorts of things would you encourage, somebody just starting out, or maybe someone just kind of dipping their toes and seeing like, hey, is this for me? Maybe experiences or thoughts that you've had along the way that might be able to help someone else in that similar situation.
Um, that's a good question. I I know there's people in our group who've made like 1 to 5 websites, and they're really like focusing in on those and like being very strategic with their money and time, and like, and that strategy is probably awesome. For me though, I just felt like you've said before, like the more lines in the water, like, and I know that like building 50 websites right now, and I don't have like hours and hours to like keep updating them right now for,
Mhm.
50.
Right.
But I just feel like if 1 or 2 of those hits, like, it'll be worth my time. So I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, for me, I've really liked just like doing as much as possible. Um, and then one guy that came to our group, I um like the due diligence at the beginning, like I seriously was like looking at a map and I'm like zooming in, I'm like, okay, this is kind of the same like uh demographic or population that we're looking for. And then I showed him is on Surfer, or
Um,
which one's it on? It might be
what's
on
this?
Majestic.
Or what metric? What metric
What,
were you showing?
I can't remember
Was it like the keyword
exactly.
difficulty, or
Yeah, yeah. So
that's
basically
on
you look up
SEMrush? Probably.
SEMrush. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just know it's part of our package deal. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
around till I find it.
Yeah.
So I kind of showed him how to do that. And I don't know if that'll pay off or not, because I noticed other people in our group like kind of doing the same thing. And so we have similar locations and similar niches, but
Right.
um like due diligence, just knowing how to do that better.
Yeah.
Um and then honestly, just like knowing that it's gonna take some grit. Like
Yeah.
if you're like feeling kind of wishy-washy about it, not sure if you like it's something you can be passionate about, then I don't know if I'd really
Recommend
commit
it.
much time to it. But like I feel committed. I feel like I've got the motivation to get me there, and
Right.
so I think like going back in time, like I probably didn't realize how much grit it would take, but like
Right.
it's only like our second business we've like started out on our own, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we're learning
Yeah.
tons.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I try to be super, upfront with people about like, look, like if you're looking for a magic, magic button that you click and all of a sudden money's showing up in your bank account, like this ain't it. You know what I mean? Like this is a skill that can pay you very, very well and can literally change your life forever, but it's not going to be easy. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
simple.
yeah,
It's simple. Like it's sequential, do this first, then do this, then do this, then do this, but it's by no means easy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's super cool. Well, awesome. Is there anything else you want to add before we kind of end this portion, and then that you want to add to just anybody who's out there watching this interview and looking up to you as like, oh man, like Taya did it, she's doing it.
Um, I don't know. Like I just feel like I said, like I had that intuition, and like I feel like the blessings are gonna start flowing to like my family, and I think having like a why in your life
Yeah. Oh yeah.
is so important for anything you want to achieve, really. And like every day, like I've got 4 kids and a husband, like they're just my reminders of like why I want to do this, and it's like it's magic. It's gonna be magic someday when you know I don't know, when we feel like a little ease of stress off of the financial side of things, and when we splurge on something for the kids, or you know what I mean, like
Yep. Yep.
um, I think just the why is super duper important to me, and that's really my driving factor here. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think that's for a lot of people, uh that's a very cliche saying in and of itself, but it's at least for me, I didn't get it for a really long time, like, but it really is. It's the sort of thing where like I don't know if you want to say like backs up against the wall or whatever, but until you kind of come to that moment where you're just like, all right, like this is, I'm gonna see this through, you know.
Yeah.
Uh it's yeah, it can be a little bit difficult to have success if you're just doing it for money, you know what I mean? And so
Right, right.
having those other reasons why is going to be what carries you through the business owners being rude on the phone, or a site that's taken forever to rank and generate leads, or uh you know um uh a site that ranks really fast but then doesn't generate any leads. All the different scenarios that we run into, and yeah, those are the things that, I mean, yeah, they suck when they happen, but I mean, um yeah, I've tried a lot of different business models, and I mean, every single one of them requires the exact same thing. Requires the grit,
Yeah,
requires the why, and the stuff going on between your ears. So
right, right.
that's awesome. I'm glad that you brought that up.